Hi there, welcome to Sunnyside Journals. I have another little short and sweet. I'm not going to take up much of your time, but I know that there are a few people that are going to want to maybe see what the next step is um, after taking the text block out of a book, which I did. And I pulled out all the ugly little pieces. The liner that was in the spine here was literally crumbling apart into dust. And you know what? It made me realize that's something to keep in mind if you have any kind of problems with dust. To put a mask on when you're doing stuff like that. If you're sensitive to it, it doesn't bother me, but for some people, I have a few members of my family that would suffer for the rest of the day from the amount of dust that can come out of a book. Now, what I've done now, I got a head start on it because otherwise watching me do the whole book is about as exciting as watching paint dry. What I've done is I've scraped away the edges of the old end paper. I want to be able to put some new pretty end papers in it, and you'll get a nicer finish if those ends will come up. Sometimes they don't want to, and then you just have to try your best to cover precisely around the edge. But if you can get that off, you'll have a nicer finished result when you put down your own pretty end papers. So, and I have found there's a few things that I use, and I sort of play with it. I play with the paper and get a feel for what it will let me use to lift up the paper. And sometimes it's as simple as lifting up a little corner and it'll just come right off. And sometimes it gives you a little bit of harder time. This one's a bit tricky. And sometimes they just won't budge for whatever reason, the kind of glue, how thin the paper was. Sometimes they're just on there forever. So this one's coming up, and I played with it a little bit. I played with it with this knife. This is sort of my dull kitchen knife that I use for certain things, and I sort of know what it'll do. And it wasn't doing anything with that, but my super sharp knife was too sharp, and it was wanting to go right into the cover. I mean, I guess I could have kept at it, but I was worried I was actually going to cut the fabric of the cover, and I didn't want to do that. And I actually found in this case my best tool was just like my good old pair of I have a pair of Tweezerman tweezers, and I mostly am just sort of using these ones have an angled tip to them, and I mostly am just easing that little sharp point, but I'm just feeling to see what it will let me do, and just letting it's almost like they're just flaking away, and then I just sort of scrape at it and then more comes off. So see what I mean, how it's tedious, but it's going to give you a really, really nice opportunity to put in some pretty end papers. So I just feel along the edge. Sometimes I can get a whole swatch right up and get that off there. You don't have to go in too far. See how I've just mostly given myself room to lay down the new papers when I do that. And that's one of the last things that you do when you're putting your book together again. So this is just I'm just giving it a little scrape. The glue seems to be hanging on there for the long haul, but it will still look nicer having done this than if I had left it alone. And the glue seems to be so old, it seems that I can almost just give it a little scratch at it and it'll just come off. So in this case, my tweezers are the right tool to use. So I'm just going to finish taking this side and then the other side, and then I'm going to show you what I do with this edge. I've already done this side. You'll see how nice and tidy that looks. So then we'll do that together, and that's all this is going to be today, is just doing that. So this is really, really, really short and sweet. So I'm just getting that little, let's see, we got a hole. There we go, that's nice. And I just find that if you can, for me, I've just learned to sort of play with the tips of my tweezers, or even your regular old kitchen knife, and just sort of scrape at it until this feels smooth, because you're going to glue down your new end papers, and you don't want any you don't want lumps and bumps underneath. So I found that if I just sort of tenderly scrape at it, I can smooth it out quite nicely. I have tried to use sandpaper and that just to smooth this down, and I found that there's no avoiding. You start sandpapering the cloth, this part of the cover that is folded over, and not worth it. So these are they're nice and smooth. This side I've already done. It's all nice and smooth. I know she had written her name here, but I was willing to sacrifice that. Sometimes I save the end papers if they've written their name in it, because she also wrote her name here. So this is the one that I'll have fun with, and I'll make something pretty, a little journal card or something. So you'll see how nice and tidy this is here. What I did was I pulled up the gauze that was originally in there to suspend the text block between the back and the front cover. So mostly what I do is start peeling away at that too, and just seeing what it will let me do and if it will cooperate with what I want to do. And quite often they do. So there's that little gauze. There we go. Yep, that's going to come right up too. This side was really easy, so I had a feeling that this would be nice and easy. Now, be careful when you get to here, because if you yank too hard, it is glued down to, hold on, let me show you. There's a little lip here that goes all the way around the book. And if I yank too hard on this, I actually could tear the fabric. So I'm actually going to come at it from the other direction and just ease up on it a little bit and make sure that it does what I want it to do. I'm going to give it a little bit of firmness with my finger there and take that off easy so that I don't tear the fabric that is the original cover. There we go. That's good. That came up nicely. Lip and cut cooperated very nicely. Just going to take a little bit more from there. There we go. Now, something I did here, I already got this started too. This, the little liner that was in there that was literally falling apart, there was a bit of it still stuck down the center from the glue, and it was still too dusty, and the reason I want to remove a bit more of it is simply because it's hard to get glue to stick to dust. So if I could get more of it off, and all I'm doing is very gently, do you see how that's just coming off with dust? But I don't want to harm the fabric. I am being so gentle. Sometimes if a book is really, really old, like I did one that was from the 1870s, I will actually use a paintbrush, and I'll hold the bristles, a dry paintbrush. I'll hold the bristles together so that they're quite stiff, and then I will just use it almost like sandpaper, and you almost feel like you're one of those dinosaur excavators that is, you know, brushing away at sand in order to find the bones. And this would certainly do the job. But like I said, I had already been playing with it here, and I sort of have a feel for what this fabric is willing to let me do as long as I'm gentle with it. It's cooperating with me if I'm gentle. So I'm barely giving this any pressure at all. If you can see, I'm just lightly using the dull end here, and I'm just getting that sort of dusty old paper and glue, and I'm sure it's not healthy. And I'm just getting that down closer to the fabric so that when I glue the new liner in there, it will stick and stay. So, sorry about the noise. There, that's much better. So now I'm not so worried. If you haven't already, the experienced junk journalers who have used old books to create a journal, they know what I'm talking about. You can't, it's hard to get glue to adhere to a dusty surface. It just is for anything. Now I'll just be a second. I'm just going to dump this into my blue box and then give it a dusting. There we go. So that's good. I'm happy with that. Now I think I'm trying to decide something that happens when a professional bookbinder creates a text block. If you can see, they literally create this mushroom shape on purpose. They bind their signatures together, and then they put it into a press, and then they literally hammer it to get it to flare out and flare out that way. And then that is what fits the book and cover around it into these little divots, the grooves, and that's when you get this lovely curvy shape to your spine. Now, obviously, my journals that I recreate don't have this many pages. I'm not looking to recreate that and do that with the journals that I create, but I still like the look of that curved spine, and I have found that I can recreate it very easily by just putting in a supportive liner in there. And what I do is I measure how big I want that to be, and then I will simply use, usually just file folder, cardstock from old file folders, and I'll use 2 layers of it. Now I'm not going to do it right now because I actually have to go get tonight's dinner into the marinade because we're barbecuing. But I will tell you what I do is I will be measuring this interior, and I usually will make myself a little template, and I'll just, because you can see where the dents are, where you're going to want it to be. And I actually like it a little bit smaller because I'm eventually going to be fitting my text block into it, and it's going to have a layer of cardstock, a layer of fabric, and a layer of paper. So it's not going to fit quite as snugly as what they did. So I'm mostly just doing that. And then in order to know how deep I want it, I'll just simply use the text block, the pages from the text block, because part of it is going to go underneath here. I'll show you. So to you. And then okay, so now I'll see if this paper fits nicely into here, and if it does, then I know that's the size I want, and if it doesn't, I will go a little bit wider. Come, thank you. And if I do this, nope, I like that. So that's the size that I'm going to want, but let me tell you what I do. What the heck? I will do it. We'll do it really quick. I get out my handy dandy, hold on, I want my short one, my doweling. And now I'm going to cut 2 pieces of this to the size of the template that I just made. So hold on. I think I'm going to need another piece from underneath. I don't want those dents. Sometimes, let me tell you why, and it's not because I'm overly fussy. Well, maybe I'm a little. The foldy dents that are there, sometimes you can still see them through thin. When I glue it into this very thin, this is 98-year-old fabric. So sometimes those dents would show through, so I won't use that. Now, let me see. I was just going to tell you how I do this, but let's just do it. All right, so it appears that it's 1.5 inches. Is that right? Or 1 3/4 inches? And there is that. I'm just going to try it again. Might as well make sure this one fits before I go to all the trouble of cutting another one. I can always trim it, but let's see, I'm thinking that what I'm doing is I'm feeling it right here, and you don't want it too big. It's just especially because what I'm going to put in here is thicker than what they originally put in, because I'm trying to replicate that beautiful curve that the spine had. So I'm going to shave just a smidge off of this. Just a little smidge. And then I'm going to make another one. There we go. So I just took the smidgiest of smidges off of it. And now I need to find, hold on, let me grab it. I have a thing underneath my table. So, oh, sorry, you're bouncing. There. All right, so, I'm just going to give myself a piece of this. It's very lightweight, and I'll tell you the reason why I think that this method works. And I don't know whether I came up with it or someone else came up with it, and I can't remember who came up with it. So if you came up with it, please let me know, and I will be more than happy to sing your praises. Hold on. There, and then Oh wait, I'm going to cut that part off and then I wouldn't be able to see my little mark. So hold on. And there. All right. The reason why I think this works is you have a little bit of time whilst this is drying, while the glue is drying in between the two layers, where it's quite curvable because the glue is wet. And if you get the glue to dry in the curved shape, it will remember the shape and hold it. So now I've got my two pieces of file folder cardstock, and it's very thin, light cardstock. It's not heavy. They are, for the most part, the same size. So now what I will do is either Fabri-Tac or 3-in-1, any kind of acetate-based glue. I find because you do want that a bit of time to work with it, but a tacky glue, water-based, I just worry that you'll get warping and not necessarily curving the way you want it to curve. So there we go. So about that much. Let me hold that up so you can see. So I don't know if you can see, about that much. And I just glue that onto there like that. Now you can, because acetone-based glues dry faster because they evaporate faster, you really can feel it. It's cold because it's evaporating even right now. So here's my doweling that I love using. My son-in-law, who is a carpenter, got it for me from one of his work sites. And let me see. I forget the diameter of it. It is 1 1/4, this one. And then what I will do is I curve it around this doweling, the two pieces together, and they're quite moldable. And I start, these are just knee-high pantyhose. So you can get them at any Dollar Tree or Raid Your Drawers, or like me, Raid Your Mother's. My mom doesn't wear them anymore. So when I cleaned out her little apartment when she had to go into the nursing home, there were all kinds of unopened packages of knee-highs, and I certainly don't wear them. And then I just wrap the pantyhose the entire length. Hold on. I do one in one direction and one in the other. Duh. Hold on. You go up there. Thank you. Jeepers, I almost forgot. And try and spread that out. There we go. So, like that, and around, nice and tight, and as best you can, getting all the sides covered with the pantyhose so that it's all being held fast to the doweling. And then just an elastic there. Now this one, I get going in the other direction so that you're doweling, and try and make sure your doweling is straight. Pardon me, your new spine is straight on the doweling, and then just go in the other direction around it like this. Now I don't know whether this is right or wrong, so please don't take this as junk journal gospel. This is just what I do, and it works. So then I just find my elastic and pull it up over that second knee-high. and hold it in place. And then I leave it overnight. And in the morning, you'll have a lovely curved liner to put back into your spine. And it will seem a little bit extreme curvy at first. And it'll seem like this. And then it will relax to about that. And it's just perfect. If you wanted not so much of a curve, go with something, a bigger round thing. So for example, when I want a less of a curve, or I'm doing a bigger book, this is actually an old rolling pin that I got at a thrift store, and I took the handles out of it, and it works terrific. And I have actually the legs of pantyhose on this one because it's bigger. I just used pantyhose legs. The knee highs don't go around it. So there you go. There's my little, there's what I do. I'm going to leave these here because I think I am done up here for the day. I'm going to go downstairs and start getting dinner ready because hubby's on his way home. And I have a little 12-pound friend over there that I'm sure her tummy is rumbling right now. So I'm going to go deal with her as well. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and thanks for visiting with me, and we will talk soon. Take care and stay safe. Bye.